And welcome to Meraki Oktoberfest 2024. It's our favorite time of the year. I'm happy to have with me today Skylar O'Donnell. He's one of our engineers covering route switch wireless specifically. Hey, Skylar.
Hey, Aaron, how are you doing? Happy to be here.
Good, Brian. Excellent. I'm your host, Aaron Shelton. I run our Cisco engineer team here at D&H. Unfortunately, we don't have Mark Jacobs with us today. He was going to join us, but he's evacuating down south. So we're very happy that he's safe. Our thoughts are with our D&H and Cisco family down in Tampa, and anyone else affected by the recent hurricanes. It looks like a doozy coming in. So definitely thinking about them. Just a matter of housekeeping. We have a Q&A section. Feel free at any time to add some Q&A there at the end. We plan to round out the hour with your questions, and we'll answer everything that we can and get back to you with anything that we can't. So overall, we're excited to have you join us today. We have a ton of exciting announcements to go through, things that are available now, things that are coming in the near future, and we can't wait to share everything with you. So let's get started. We have a lot to cover. We'll talk about some improvements and upgrades on Meraki, and both on the dashboard and existing hardware. First off, Skylar, we're talking about the MX software. So there's been some upgrades and stuff happening there. What's going on?
Yeah, Aaron, thank you. I'm really excited to talk about this. This is one of the really cool things Meraki does frequently, where they essentially make upgrades and changes to essentially the existing both hardware and software out there to make improvements on it completely free to customers, either bringing features or in this case, making it much more efficient and essentially boosting the throughput and speeds at which they operate, all completely free of charge, all built into the base licensing. Essentially, it's made them more efficient at detecting malware and security events, as well as allowing them to reach a much higher throughput when using those security services. So I don't know if a lot of you have used MXs in the past, but especially when you were looking at the data sheet, you typically saw two different speeds at which they'd operate. One where it was just the base enterprise license, and then the more advanced security had a different speed. And now they've essentially eliminated that, so they all operate at that same speed where the enterprise was before. For the MX67 and 68, they boosted it so that the advanced security and NGFW speeds are up to 700 megabit per second. Previously, they were at about 350 megabit per second. The MX75 and 85 has been boosted to 1 gigabit per second, and the 95 has been boosted to 2.5 gigabits per second. And it's not just limited to the branch or small and medium MXs. It's also included the larger ones all the way up to the MX450 and another one that will soon to be announced by Meraki that hasn't quite come out yet. So essentially, they made it really easy for engineers and technicians to size an MX because they're no longer need to determine which license they want to use ahead of time. They can just size the device and then pick the proper license afterwards. So it certainly made it a lot easier, both for us on the sales engineering side as well as for partners to scope out for their end customers.
Yeah, it's some very exciting news. It's not often that you see hardware that's spec for one speed that they've been able to improve through other efficiencies they built in the back end. So that's fantastic news. And the improvements aren't just limited to the MX series. They're adding a new section to the dashboard called Network Assurance. We're very excited about that. That leverages AI, ML to take care of all the fabulous monitoring, logging, and data. It gives you deep insights into the network's health and what's going on. Do you want to say anything before we jump into a quick video on that, Skylar?
I'll just say quick that some of you may be familiar with some of the assurance stuff. It was in some of the other sections, particularly like WAN health, but they've really combined it all and added some additional features and metrics to make it a lot simpler to read and reach for you. And I think it's something really cool, so I'm excited for you to check out the demo.
Yeah, very nice. All right, we'll jump into that here.
Let's take a look at Meraki's network assurance platform now. It's one of the coolest things I think they've added in recent years to the dashboard, and it's included for everyone's license. So that's one of the coolest things. So you may be asking yourself, what is it? It's a new assurance feature page that is built in to enable network administrators to understand the overall health of their network across the entire network stack and to provide a quality experience to their customers, because ultimately the customers are why we have these networks and why we may be troubleshooting or looking through these logs is because they're having a poor customer experience. So ultimately, this is really just a tool to try to kind of very quickly and easily diagnose everything. And it's, I think, one of the easiest to view and use AI or machine learning features that any networking provider has put out there. So with that quick overview, let's take a look at the network assurance page. And you should see in your dashboard an assurance tab, or you should be in the near future. Truly, to get the biggest benefit of this, we probably recommend that you have like 2 tiers of Meraki products, so like an MS or an MX or MS and MRs, but 3 is preferred, or a customer with a full stack will see the most benefits. Also, someone that might have a Meraki Insight license, if you have one of those, or the SD-WAN Plus license for the MX, you'll also see a lot of benefit from that for some of the other tabs, which you can kind of see over here with the web app. But we're going to focus primarily on this page, since it is for essentially everyone with their base licenses. As you can see, it gives you a good overview of the history. You really have kind of a good range. I believe the max is 1 week that you can kind of go through for the history, but I could be wrong about that. We'll see how far back it'll let me go. Yeah, it looks like it'll let me do about a week. A little over a week, I guess. No, a week. But you can see here, it stores essentially historic data. So if someone says, and I know, having been in MSPs in the past, whenever you go on site, sometimes people wait till they see you just because they don't want to bother you with a ticket or something along those lines. And it's like, oh, a couple weeks ago I had a wireless issue, or a week ago I had a wireless issue, or last Tuesday. And it can be really, really difficult to actually find out what was going on at that point in time, and if it's something that you can correct, need to correct, if it's a user error or something else. And as you can see here, the assurance page gives you a really quick glimpse at what's going on, and you can actually take a glimpse back in time, see when that score might have dipped, like there, where some of the clients were having some issues. And you can actually dig much deeper into that and see where maybe you're losing some points based on the information they provided, or otherwise. And then if you want to deep dive into that day, so it looks like September 28th was the issue. We're going to take, whoops, didn't want to do that. A little too click happy today. And we'll go to that custom range, and it was, I believe, the 28th, so last Friday or Saturday. And we'll just do 10 in the morning, and then the end date we'll do the same, and we'll finish that up at 23:59. And it should give us a much better closer glimpse of potentially what was going on at that point in time, and where the issues were. It looks like I might have grabbed the oh no, there it is. Looks like some wireless client issues were impacted. At a certain point, you can see how many were impacted, the association, the type of impact. So it was actually the authentication where it was having issues, it looks like, and there was some packet loss. And you can dive right into the issue and get right at the root cause of what was going on. And typically, wireless especially can be one of the hardest issues to troubleshoot. And as you can see here, sometimes it's a radius server and otherwise. For those of you that would like even more info and to dive deeper, they actually have a wireless health section which really gets into it and gives some really great insight into what's going on specifically with access points. You can see particular clients, you can connect to them and disassociate them from specific APs if there's a better signal to noise ratio available out there. And I'm going to let the page load. But you can see, and right now I'm in the D Cloud. This will be a little different from the other demo that I show you, where it's actually our solutions lab at D&H. If any of you would like to play with this, it's actually available at dcloud.cisco.com, and you just look for the Meraki Launchpad, and you'll get access to all of this. So it's kind of nice that they've actually taken the time to set up and show you, what's going on. And it's not limited to just the last hour. Similarly to the network assurance section, you have a broad range. In this case, it's significantly longer. It happens to be in the last hour, though, that we do have a good show at what's going on. We can see here that there are 2 of the 5 devices that are available in the Meraki lab that are having issues. We can see that the authentication issue is actually occurring, which is very similar to the radius authentication issue we saw prior. So it makes sense that they're both showing that. We can see specifically that it's particular SSID that's having the authentication issue currently. So if we needed to, we can investigate that, or if we want to actually dive into the specific clients that are having the issue, we can see here. And thankfully, Meraki has named their client something very useful, so we can just click into that if we want and get into it. And I'll give that a second to load while I go into some of the other stuff, and you can actually get into, should you have issues, the network timeline and see what's actually going on. Is there a DHCP issue? Which AP its client or person is trying to connect to? What is the signal to noise ratio, which is my favorite kind of metric to judge wireless signal out there. I think it's very easy to understand, and that is a very good signal to noise ratio there. You can see what band they're trying to connect to. So you get just so much information at your fingertips to very quickly and easily troubleshoot issues that may be on your network without needing to run any kind of packet capture tools, which if you do, also part of the network assurance tab. So Meraki is just trying to make it as easy as possible on network administrators out there so that they can run a lean ship. And it looks like that client had an issue. Let's see if this one is any better. Sometimes we have some latency issues with the dCloud just because it serves so many people and it's so large. So we'll see if this one's any better. It looks like I'm struck out. Let's see if I can get into a client just because it's kind of neat to show. And that one looks like it is disconnected right now, so we can't take a look. And this is maybe the health page that some people were used to, the client page. This is also part of the assurance and gives a lot of really handy and helpful information right at your fingertips. And here's one of the wireless clients, so we'll go ahead and click into this one and see if we can get some information. And it does look like we can. We can get a good history of what they're associated to. It looks like this one is having this current AP, which is one of the new 6E access points, is facing some channel utilization issues on the 5 gigahertz band that they're a part of right now. So potentially, we could be facing some issues with that. It looks like right now everything is good to go on their computer. Just so much you can do. And if you want to take a look at the timeline or current connections, you can really dive into their overall stats, see has this person, say that person told you they had an issue. You can see here, maybe they put in their password. Occasionally we'll see, sometimes they run out of DHCP addresses, things like that. So it makes it very, very easy for a admin to really tear into everything they need to. And you can see there's lots of roads to roam, so we can get to the timeline, we can get to the connections and overall health history many different ways. So with that, I'll go ahead and send it back to the Solutions Lab. Thank you.
Jumping back into the content, thanks for bearing with us. That makes it so easy to see what's going on and really keeps the focus on the client. A lot of good detail there that we've seen in the DNA side of things that's now moving into Meraki, so really nice to see that. Now, staying on the analytics train, we're going to move into Cisco Spaces and its new seamless two-way integration. We'll watch a quick video on that. Any other things you want to mention on this one, Skylar, before we jump into the video?
No, this is another it's another really cool feature that Cisco's added to your current licensing, free of charge, depending on the license level that you have, and very easy to set up. We'll show you how to set it up, or at least get the integration going here in a few minutes, and excited for you all to see it.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we'll jump in. This is just a very short clip that Cisco put together.
If you have a physical business with Wi-Fi, you've probably got a blind spot. There's a ton of existing data there regarding people and things that could be super valuable if only you had some way to leverage it. So what can you do about it? Cisco DNA Spaces provides insight and context to data you already have but couldn't see until now. Location analytics, visitor behavior trends, asset monitoring, and so much more. All within a centralized dashboard. See what's happening, act on that information, extend the location data APIs to partners. Compatible across all Cisco wireless, you can be up and running in 48 hours. Because it's a cloud-based service, you're covered with uptime, 24/7 monitoring, and support. If you have a physical space blind spot, see what you've been missing out on and get more from your existing Wi-Fi investment. What are you waiting for?
I'm very excited by this one. What else can we do with this?
You can do so much. It's one of those things, and potentially some of you are already familiar with this, and they did recently rebrand it to Cisco Spaces. So if you're currently looking up Cisco DNA Spaces, you're probably not finding anything, or maybe you're finding something that's named very similar. They did recently migrate to Cisco Spaces, just the naming, nothing else really changed. But formerly, when it was more on-prem, there was a device called a CMX, and it did a lot of location-based wireless services like captive portal or guest profiles or all sorts of different data and essentially business intelligence that was trapped in wireless logs that was really difficult to get to. CMX took care of that. Eventually, there was a company that created a cloud-based version, and Cisco purchased them and integrated CMX with the cloud platform, and Cisco Spaces was born. It really is something that's very simple to set up, very cool, very easy to use, and it has a lot of depth to it, essentially. And one of the coolest things about it is with Spaces, you can really dig into other parts of the IT or other parts of your company's budget that traditionally may have been restricted from IT, such as building and ground or marketing or all sorts of other things, because you're actually able to provide them with either data or in terms of building and ground, maybe sustainability and automation through IoT. So all sorts of different other things. One of the cool things is, as of today, Cisco is bundling, and Meraki are bundling these licenses together. If you have a wireless Meraki network out there, you already have access to the enterprise licensing for it to work. So you have access to Spaces Extend, which essentially lets you get into a lot of different things and provides you with the Firehose API to essentially pull out a lot of data as well. And then if you have the advanced license, which some of you may have if you're using some of the umbrella features or adaptive policy on the wireless side, that gives you access to Spaces smart venues. Typically, this is one of the more popular licensing options. It is great for theaters, concert halls, stadiums. Not too long ago, we had a theme park that rolled this out for the captive portal and guest profiles. So really great platform, really powerful. If we go to the next slide, I think we can take a look at some of the breakdown and features and really give into it. So essentially, Cisco Spaces is designed to drive business outcomes by detecting identity presence and grabbing all sorts of location and telemetry data. This can give you an idea of where customers are spending the most time in your site, say your retail location. That way you can create center caps or various marketing or product displays where they will travel the most. You can also know how many people enter your business and at what times and for how long. So you can plan for peak staffing, maybe for a restaurant or something along those lines, or even a bank or something along that. It's really pretty amazing what you can do. The other thing that I don't actually have listed here is that there's a lot of integrations, and Cisco's actually taken a full step where they've created a site, and you can go on that site and find third-party IoT devices that are all Cisco Spaces approved. So they're essentially ready to go for sustainability or other kind of solutions. Just so much you can do. Another really cool one that I've seen a lot of people start to roll out with Meraki, and it integrates really well with Cisco Spaces, is the smart inventory tagging. I know it's sometimes controversial in the news, but it essentially allows retail organizations to essentially dynamically price products if they want, or just to very simply price all their products without having someone go out there with a sticker gun and set up the store shelving. So just so much out there. Cisco has really invested a lot of money to create a Cisco Partner Spaces ecosystem, as I mentioned, where you can essentially view all of these various tools and features, and it's just one of the coolest things out there. And I could go on and on about it. I'll stop for now. If it's something if you have a Meraki wireless network, I'd just say, check out this demo I think we're about to look at, and very simple to do. It can't hurt to go ahead and set it up. And Aaron, if you will.
You got it. Thank you so much, Skyler.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
Now we're going to begin by looking at the Cisco Spaces integration with Meraki. To do that, we'll first begin by uploading a floor plan. Now this part isn't required, but it definitely helps out with Cisco Spaces and allows you to use significantly more features. I waited to do this just so I could show you how quick and easy it is to do this and how simple it is in the Meraki dashboard. It's also very helpful in the Meraki dashboard to show you kind of where everything is and give you a good idea of where potentially issues are occurring if they are occurring somewhere. And I'm just going to enter in our info, and I've gone ahead and created a kind of cropped floor plan for our area. It is a little simpler, but it should make it very easy for us to locate, since we're only using 2 access points today since it's a demo. If you had more, certainly it would be more effective. Unfortunately, I had to enlarge it a little bit to make it easier to see. So it is a little blurred, so hopefully it isn't too bad for everyone and it's coming through okay. So we're going to go ahead and save that floor plan, and then really almost everything that we have here is located directly in this solutions lab, which is actually basically a server room. We do have the temperature probe in the solutions lab area out there where we actually host classes, but I'm going to just pop the Wi-Fi in where we have it to give a demonstration. I'm going to leave off the rest, and we're going to just save the deployments there, since the rest are switches and routers. Technically, you could potentially benefit from adding the switches as well, since, the maximum distance from a switch to an access point is 100 meters. So it would give you a little bit of location and additional information there, but it's certainly not required. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save Device Placement. And you'll kind of see it over here on the right. And just double checking that it's there, and it has saved everything. So now that we've went ahead and done that, we're going to go ahead and go in here, and we're going to go under the integrations section. This is very new. It actually just came out, and I would keep an eye on this because I would look for further integrations beyond Cisco Spaces and Genia to be added here, so that you don't have to mess with API keys or anything else like that in the future. And since we're going to go ahead and add this Cisco Spaces, since that entitlement has just been added to the base licenses, we're going to do that. I have not yet created a account, so we're going to go through this together. and see everything one for one. And an invite has been sent to my email, so we're going to go ahead and pull that up on another screen, and we will have that in just a moment. And I'm not going to edit or anything like that, so you'll have to pardon the slight break, but I'd like to show you exactly how long it takes without any kind of cuts or anything else like that. So I have received in my Outlook mailbox, my corporate email, an invitation, and I'm going to copy and paste that over. And since this is my first time, I'm just going to enter some basic information. And most of this should be the same for you guys since you are in the United States. But if you're not, I'm sure you can find your country as well. And this is really all it takes to activate. And I do have a Cisco single sign-on, so it may prompt me for a username. It may not, because I have been signed on for a little while today. And I would recommend reading this agreement and offer details. I have already done that, so I'm going to go ahead and accept and continue at this point. And from here, you could actually kind of do whatever you like. I just want to give you a quick view of the dashboard. You can see that the API integration has already happened without really any extra steps from us. You can see that we got one location with 2 access points, and it's already got a rough square footage of the area based on information. It is a lab setup, so there's probably not a ton of information here so far. If we go in, I think we've only had maybe 1 user active throughout, but if there were more users, you would see a lot more data here based on your license level. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the demo and send it back to the Solutions Lab.
All right, so there you see it, 6 minutes and under with explanation. We're able to get spaces set up and active on a Meraki dashboard. So it's taking one of those really complicated features in the back end and making it easy and really giving it that simplicity that the Meraki dashboard has, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It's really amazing what they're able to do nowadays. I can remember back in like 2003, 2004, when I was just starting my Wi-Fi journey, and this was just beginning. And never would I have dreamed of so much information at your fingertips, or so much cool stuff. It's really amazing how far both technology has come and Cisco in that time period.
You've got that right. And security. I remember a single sign-on for everybody. Those were the days. With that, and actually a great transition into the next bit we want to talk about, we're going to continue talking about wireless and looking into Wi-Fi 7.
Now we're going to begin by looking.
Sorry about that. I think there we go. Click the other button here. Restarting videos just for fun. Working live. All right, so we are going to kick into Wi-Fi 7 here. There's a upcoming release of APs, of course, and some design considerations that should be made when designing Wi-Fi 7. So as you're moving into 6E, 7, any of that, we want to start looking at things. Tell us what we have going with Wi-Fi 7, Scott.
Yeah, this is a topic I'm really close to my heart and something I really love talking about and something we've been getting a lot of questions with. And I know, everyone will be asking when they're going to come out. So hopefully we can address that by the end. But with Wi-Fi 7, we really will see a lot of big improvements, particularly in spectrum usage, client density, and throughput. But today, we're just going to look at a couple in particular because I think both are pretty cool, and they potentially come with some design considerations whenever you are implementing them. So Wi-Fi 7 definitely continues to build on the 6 gigahertz spectrum. So you can kind of see that off to the left. That it's certainly building on that, but in reality, some of the other technologies like 4K QAM, as you'll see there, or 4K quadrature amplitude modulation, which is an absolute tongue twister, is one of the coolest technologies out there. And I think we have a little more on that on the next slide, Aaron. It essentially allows for a better data rate modulation, which means more bits per radio symbol, which really gets into the weeds. But it essentially means you can just get a lot more throughput. I think it's about 20% more throughput over essentially the waves and modulation and sine waves and data being sent. So it's a fairly big improvement over 6 and 6E in terms of what it's able to, and the density it's able to send of the bits per radio transmission. It's essentially best suited for single antenna clients connected to a multi-antenna AP that can utilize beamforming. So look for your cell phones, potentially your laptops, devices like that, or IoT devices potentially, although the throughput one does matter as well. However, it does come with some important caveats when you're designing it, and this is one of the reasons why I like talking about this and would love for you to reach out and help you design it. One of the big caveats is lower data propagation range when enabled. So essentially because of the sine wave behavior and the modulation, it just can't travel as far. So very similarly to the difference between 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, whenever this is enabled, I just can't travel as far because the waves are so dense because of the modulation. The other important factor is it typically needs a very high signal to noise ratio. So you'll need either environment that doesn't have a lot of interference or potentially more APs closer together so that you have very strong signal. So lots of very important design considerations even before you roll out Wi-Fi 7. Another one I'd like to talk about is MLO, or multi-link operation. This is another one of the really cool technologies, and it's something that I would look for to be advanced upon even more with Wi-Fi 8. Essentially, it allows you to associate across multiple bands at once rather than just a single one, which allows you to have greater throughput, more reliability, and a lower latency across the connections. It does, however, require a multi-link device or an MLD, so you will need to be conscious of having Wi-Fi 7 devices going forward whenever you are deploying these to make use of a lot of these technologies, as well as WPA3 and some of the other caveats and things that are coming out. Specifically, I know WPA3 and 4K QAM really has some design considerations at first when it's released. So whenever these do get announced and you would like to design these, I'd love for you to reach out. We can really help you out with it. My absolute favorite feature of all of these is preamble puncturing. It essentially means that Wi-Fi 7 will have better channel utilization. In prior generations, if interference was detected on a particular, essentially, channel band within a channel width, so maybe if you're using an 80 megahertz channel, as you can kind of see on the right, one of the 20 megahertz bands was experiencing interference. Prior to Wi-Fi 7, all those bands beyond that would essentially be wasted and unusable in the eyes of the access point. With Wi-Fi 7, they're able to do what's known as preamble puncturing, where they can continue on once they observe that there's no interference on higher essentially megahertz channels, and then they can continue to broadcast on them without wasting those channels. So it makes the spectrum and channel utilization a lot better than you would see on Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, which I think is really, really cool. And then finally, you'll see a further continuation of MRU, which is multiple resource units. And this really came about in Wi-Fi 6, where they're able to, whenever it's broadcasting, they're able to essentially break up each of the essentially resource units or subcarriers, the tones in OFDMA into multiple users. This allowed for a higher client density with access points, but it was limited to essentially a single subcarrier or tone per user. With Wi-Fi 7, it'll allow essentially multiple tones. So it'll allow it just to be more efficient and allow for a little more throughput and reliability whenever you're building out these networks, which I think is really, really cool. And then essentially, with all these improvements, a lot of them towards throughput, one of the biggest design considerations, especially whenever people are rolling these out, when I talk to them, I like to point out is switching. You can have the greatest access points in the world, and they can do multi-gig and have 200 clients connected to them with all these density technologies. But if they're still all using a 1 gig connection back to a switch, or from that switch back to another to the core, you're really limiting the actual horsepower of the AP and really kind of limiting the client experience and just making them unhappy. So even though they can have all this throughput and all this density, which should save your client money on the amount of access points they potentially have to have, you do need to have the backbone essentially to make it all work and work properly. So one of the big things with Wi-Fi 7 that we're really stressing is making sure that you have a proper switching backbone, not only because the new Wi-Fi 7 access points will absolutely require more than 30 watts of power, so they will need UPoE. Otherwise, they'll be operating in a slightly degraded state where they're not able to fully power the radios, which is certainly a consideration. You could roll them out now or when they're released, and they still will work, but they honestly wouldn't be getting your money's worth at that point. And then honestly, the aggregate throughput is over 1 gig. Some of the access points can reach 5 to 7.5 gigabit per second if they have the proper switching backplane and backbone. So, really important that that's a consideration. If it's not right when you do the access point refresh, maybe sometime in the near future, but it is certainly a consideration that we highly recommend. And essentially, I guess now I should, whet everyone's appetite and talk about the Wi-Fi 7 AP launch. This is, a hot topic here at DNH2. I'm constantly asking Cisco every day when these will be announced. As of last week, when I last talked to Cisco, we should have a release date in the next essentially week and a half. So I was hoping I could give you a surprise announcement today, but alas, I was not. But we should have the release date for this Wi-Fi 7 access points within the next week and a half. I believe Cisco is targeting early November, although that date has been quite fluid. We've heard a number of dates on that, so don't hold us to that, but that is essentially what we're looking for. It will converge the wireless APs similar to Wi-Fi 6E, so the access point will be work for both Catalyst and the Meraki sides. The cool thing about these access points is that it'll just be a single SKU, so you won't have to decide between the two of them. You'll just purchase one and it'll work for both without any extra changes. And by default, I believe, from what we were hearing, it will work with Meraki by default. So that's actually the default persona of these APs, which is pretty cool. It just goes to show how much Cisco is leaning into and loves Meraki. So that's really cool. The other really important thing, and we can't talk about it a ton, but there will be some small changes to the licensing, but that's kind of more to come, and we will dive into that here in the very near future.
Yeah, thank you, Skylar. So, I mean, huge feature changes coming to these devices with Wi-Fi 7. Not having the devices, not having their data sheets, we still don't have all the details there, but at least we have that Wi-Fi 7 spec and a little bit of information that Cisco had in their engineering VT last week. So a lot of good information starting to leak out about these, and I'm very excited for them to hit. And he has actually
Me
been
too.
contacting Cisco daily on that. So that's been fun. Now with that, you mentioned the Meraki licensing model a little bit. There's the subscription model that's been heavily revised over the past year, so it's been out for a little while now, but now it's really kind of come into its own with full capability. Tell us a little bit about some of the changes coming to the subscription model there.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'm really excited about this as well. It actually has been one of our fastest growing license models in the past year, essentially since it was released. Excuse me, it's essentially designed to give users a better, both users and partners a better experience. The new model allows for more, and I think I have one more slide ahead, Aaron.
Oh, you got it.
Perfect. Thank you. So essentially, the new model allows for more flexibility and easier hardware additions midterm. So they have essentially true proration. So instead of having to buy a full year term whenever you're adding something to co-term, they can actually just add it to as though it's a subscription. And you're not paying for something that might be squished down as it was with co-termination. It's something that we actually got a lot of questions about, and there was a lot of confusion. So I think it's Meraki's way of essentially simplifying some of the issues that people were having with the co-termination and per device. They've kind of pulled a little bit of the best of both worlds and created kind of a new model. Also, whenever you claim the license key for a subscription, you only have to do it once. You never have to do it again, unless you add multiple subscriptions to a dashboard. That's one of the cool things too. Instead of having just one licensing type for an entire organization, or doing per device licensing throughout your entire organization, but still being required to have advanced security across your entire organization for all the MXs or all your MRs. With the new Meraki subscription, they allow a lot more flexibility where you can pick and choose the license level that you need based upon essentially what your needs are, instead of having it fully across the organization. And then you can apply these based upon the specific networks instead of organization wide. So it allows you for a lot more granularity on your networks. And to go along with that, they've also changed their essentially license compliance, so that whenever a license runs out, the devices are no longer shut down, which for the most part, Meraki didn't actually do. I know that's kind of a myth that we've heard a lot on our side. Typically you get like almost 3 months, 3 or 4 months of operation after your licenses run out with Meraki. So I wouldn't really shut down, but in this case with the Meraki subscription, whenever you are out of compliance, it would just be for those devices. So if it's just maybe a specific network and with a single subscription and all your other subscriptions are good, it would just be that one that would have compliance issues. And then when it does have compliance issues, the network would continue operating in perpetuity. You just wouldn't be able to manage it anymore. So you wouldn't be able to make updates to maybe VLANs or change the SSID password until you had that licensed again properly. So they've certainly made improvements to that. Hopefully, I think it's pretty cool. I'm hoping you partners will also find it much better and much simpler to manage then. The other really cool thing for partners is the ability to bill monthly, quarterly, yearly, or still be prepaid. This should allow a little more flexibility potentially for MSPs or other business styles out there to meet something that meets potentially their business's needs a little bit better. And something that we're really excited about is kind of the simplification of the SKUs as well. Instead of having a particular SKU for each piece of hardware and really breaking it down, they've kind of simplified the Meraki subscriptions into a few different licensing tiers for, or not, I shouldn't say tiers, but switch size tiers or access point tiers or MX tiers. To make it a little simpler, you just have to find the appropriate tier for your switch, and then they have either an essentials or, an enterprise or an advanced license, which has particular features based upon what you choose. So lots of really great changes and something we're really excited about. If it's something you're interested in, our specialist team and our support team are certainly there to answer any of your questions that you might have about this. And, oh, cool. I thought I had one more slide. This just kind of gives you a quick breakdown of kind of how the subscriptions can work. As you can see, prior, there was kind of a giant code term where everything was broken down together and you had all of them at once. With this, you can either have one single mono license that still covers everything under your organization, or you can have, multiple subscriptions that are broken out into particular networks or layers. So Cisco and Meraki are really trying to give you as much granularity as possible to create essentially a solution that works for both you and your customer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Skylar. So yeah, I mean, moving to the subscription model, we don't have that moving end date that we saw on Coterm. You could add, single AP, the license, and it might change your end date by 3 days, a month, whatever, it through their math, it would kind of change that end date, but not by much. But with this, you always have that fixed end date, fixed renewal date. So it makes financial planning much easier going forward under this model. So even just that alone, incredibly helpful. With that, we're done with the primary content of our show. Thank you very much, Skylar, for all the great detail there. We're going to move in. I have a couple final details here, and then we'll move into some live Q&A and answer some questions that have been piling up here. We do have an upcoming Solutions Lab. Keep an eye out, as always, at dnh.com/Solutions Lab. That's also where we're going to have the recording for this video, so you can watch it on demand, pass it on to other folks that you think should see it. Always happy to have more eyes on it. Our next event is October 29th. That'll be the Next Gen Security and Collaboration, Mastering Windows 11 Pro Devices. So a little bit of the Microsoft side of things coming up next. And then, as always, if you're interested in an easier way to buy some of Cisco's subscription licensing, especially in security, Umbrella, Secure Endpoint, Duo, we have a fantastic cloud marketplace where you can build your quotes, send them to your customers, all of that without a deal ID needed to be created. If you're interested in that at all, reach out to Cisco Cloud at dnh.com. That team will talk to you about our cloud marketplace. They can get you set up if you're not already set up there. But it's literally like a 5-minute process to place orders for those products through that platform. So a really nice way to do that. And with that, let's move to the live Q&A. Go ahead and keep posting your questions if you have any. We'll answer everything we can before the hour here. Let me rearrange my screen just a pinch here. Thanks for the feedback, everybody. All right, let me jump in. Skylar, what's the link for the dCloud Meraki dashboard?
I actually just sent that in another message in chat, and I think I sent it to everyone, so hopefully everyone got access to the link in dCloud. But if you search on Google, in the meantime, if that didn't work, Cisco dCloud on Google, it should come up with a number of links. And one of the options that may pop up on Google for you is the Meraki Launchpad. That's specifically what we used for the demonstrations of the network assurance portion. It's really cool. It has essentially almost the entire Meraki network. You get read-only access to it, so you can't make changes to it, but you can demo quite a bit of it. And then on the right side, there's a little box that you can expand that actually has demo walkthroughs that you can do. It'll walk you through the demos, I should say, that you can give to your customers, and it will really help you out and learn how to either do stuff with Meraki or just play with it and get used to some of the new features and stuff like that without messing up your environment. But I highly recommend checking it out. We use it all the time.
dCloud's incredibly helpful, and it's not just Meraki there. It's a large part of the product line where you can get hands-on use without ever having to buy a license or equipment. So very helpful to partners that want to dig in there a little bit. Good for demos too with your customers. So great option for that. Actually, yeah, good question here. There's a few things to cover on this one, Skylar, but can you summarize the effective dates for all the new solutions we talked about today? Rough guesses are okay.
Yeah, sure thing. So the Cisco Spaces I'll start with because that's the easiest. It is out today. You can absolutely start using it today. Very easy. I mean, the integration, I literally got done with the PBT last week when they showed it to us, and got on my computer and went to town. So that is live. The Meraki MXs should be live today. You may need to go with newer firmware. I believe the newest firmware is supposed to be out now. If not, it should be out in the next week or two per the PBT. So it may be just you need to go in and queue up the firmware updater potentially move to the beta if you want it absolutely before that, but it should be releasing now. Wi-Fi 7 is it's supposed to be announced this week or next. We've heard a lot of dates. Technically, it was supposed to be out October 1st, but we're past that date. From what I've heard, and the most recent timings that I got from Cisco is like the first 2 weeks of November should be the actual release date. But I have heard as far back as December. So between November and the start of December, I would say for Wi-Fi 7. Trying to think, is there anything else I missed that we talked about? I think that's most of the stuff. There's a really cool news and announcements page from Meraki that they have on their community page where they go and announce feature updates and things like that they're really great about, that I highly recommend checking out. It should have, the network assurance stuff should be live today. I think it is potentially early access for some people. It started in September 4th is early access. So at most, you just need to reach out to Meraki support and say, hey, I'd like to get into the beta of it, or I'd like to check out these features, and they should be able to enable it on your page. But it should be live, and if not, it will be in the very near future. And if you absolutely want it today, definitely reach out to Cisco support, and they'll be able to get you hooked up.
Yeah, for now, it's one of those little hidden features if it's not already live on your dashboard, but they can enable that very quick for you. Let's see, will the slides be sent out? We are going to send these, or we're not going to send the slides out really, but we're going to have the on-demand video. If you do want some of these slides, we should be able to share them with you. Just contact us at Cisco support at dnh.com. We can get you a deck sent out in PDF format. Well, here's a good question. Is the 18.2 code for the MXs available now? If not, when?
I believe the 18.2 is, I think it's like 18.2.11 is the one that actually brings it out. I can get back to you on that one. I was trying to look through the information I had on the Meraki stuff as I was talking a few minutes ago to see if I had the actual date in my notes, and I couldn't pull it up yet. So I will definitely get back to you guys on that one. And if I find it before we finish talking, I will let you know. But that's one I'll have to get back to you on. I believe it is within the next week or two, but I'm not sure of the exact date, and we'll get that for you.
Yes, we'll double check ourselves there. And I'm remembering the same thing from the PVT. If it's not now, it's imminent. So that should be very quick here. Kind of along the lines, the subscriptions and availability, that's available now, fully active. So if you do want to start to move subscriptions into your portfolio, you can do that. The best way to do that is at renewal point. So if you have an active subscription already, brownfield installation, you want to wait till that renewal point, and then you can swap to a subscription. But if you have a critical case with that, sometimes it's worth talking to the Meraki account managers as well. Sometimes they can work something out for you to make that happen a little bit sooner. Let's see, the recordings. We're not going to send a recording link, but again, dnh.com/solutionslab will have the recordings posted up there. Let's see, Oh yeah, here's a good one for you, Skylar. Will the MX firmware update change the throughput on the MX 67, 68, 75, 85, and 95 with the update, or is it only the new MXs going forward?
No, it's existing ones too. So that's like the coolest thing I think is it's not a hardware change by any means. It's completely with the security software to make it more efficient in detections and everything like that. So it's entirely essentially software, firmware, all of those together. So kind of all those tweaks on those allowed them to really boost the speed on it. So there's the MXs that are shipping today are the same ones that you have, if you have one deployed. So it's truly just a matter of throwing out the new firmware on the device, and you'll start seeing improvements there, essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And the pretty specific here, I don't quite remember the exact update on it, but the MX67 with the firmware 18, do you remember what the speed differential is on that one now?
I think it was like a 350 megabit improvement. So I think I went from 350 meg with advanced security services up to 700, and then the other ones were typically like 250 or somewhere around there. On some of the differences, yeah, you can see kind of some of the stats. In real world malware efficiency across 98. Across 11 categories, it was 98% more efficient and 25% more efficient against the industry average. Certainly just, they made their code better is essentially what comes down to it. And I think it's pretty cool that they did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice question. Okay. How could my organization make use of Oktoberfest for effective and efficiency in cybersecurity? We're here to give you information, and even beyond these presentations, our team is available. So if you have questions about really building a solution that you want to give to one client or all of your clients, we're here to help with that. Very happy to do so. So again, reach out to Cisco Specialist at DNH or Cisco Support at DNH. For those of you in Canada, we do have a team up there as well. And that's Cisco Team CA at DNH.com, and same services up there. They can really help solution build for you. Quick question on the Meraki subscription licensing. How do I add licenses to a Meraki subscription? And that is fairly easy. At this point, the best way to do that is a modification of the subscription. So instead of buying a brand new order, we use that same subscription ID that's available. Our team can add the licenses that you need for it. You get a quote for that. And then once you place an order based on that new revised modification quote, those licenses become active. So that's pretty much Cisco's method to make sure that that subscription remains as a single subscription for the life of it. So you can add licenses that way. End date doesn't change. So just a little bit of a modification process there. Let's see here. Oh, this is a fun one. As multi-gig ASIC are arriving, when will the MXs have these? I don't know if we have that yet. Do we?
Near future. I don't know how announced it is, but there is a new MX unit coming out called the 650. It's quite a beefy unit. I think it's based on the Catalyst architecture, actually the 8000 architecture. The specs you can look it up now. If you Google it, the data sheet will come up. I think that'll be the first one that'll potentially have it, but very little data has been released on it. And I think that'll be the first one. And I think it's supposed to be in the near future, but that's one that the date is very ethereal, and they haven't really locked it down on because they're still performing testing. So very soon, but not quite yet. And from what we've heard too, and especially at the PVT, this was kind of a question: when are the MX upgrades coming? Because at this point, while they are able to upgrade the software, they have been around for quite a while, and they still do a really great job. But people are looking potentially to refresh, and they did acknowledge that, and that that they've already refreshed the Z4, and they are now looking to refresh the MXs. So once the MX 650 is out, sorry for stuttering, I would look for some of those announcements and for some of that to be coming down the pipeline then.
Yeah, very good. Let's see. Oh, and actually, aligned to that, one person posted the MX95 has the 2.5 MGig ports now, so that's kind of rolling there. Yeah, how does Meraki do the updates? Do we have to go to software.cisco.com and download updates, or pay for update version? How do we do that, Skyler?
Yeah, that's actually that's one of the cool things about the support licensing, and kind of one of the big differences between Cisco and Meraki. So it is a great question. With Meraki, the enterprise license or whichever license you purchase for the device actually includes support, and with that, it includes all firmware updates. So as long as your device is active and compliant with the Meraki dashboard, you're going to both have access to that firmware as well as Meraki will handle. That's the great thing about their dashboard; they will handle the actual firmware upgrade for you. Potentially, you'll see an email in your mailbox or the admin's mailbox where it'll say, hey, this firmware update will be happening on this date, just to let you know it's happening. But for the most part, it's all happening behind the scenes without any major issues or anything like that. Certainly, if you want to have a little more control over it, there are ways to do that in the Meraki dashboard where you can either schedule or force a MX firmware update at a particular time. If you're maybe experiencing an issue or would like a new feature like the MX throughput upgrades, but for the most part, that all happens in the background, is handled kind of autonomously by the Meraki dashboard.
All right, thank you so much. And with that, we've pretty much conquered the questions here. We have a couple follow-ups that we'll touch base with you folks individually. As always, reach out to us if you have additional questions, want more information. As you see these releases come out, the Wi-Fi 7 and all that, the access points will be there to help then as well. Cisco Team CA at dnh.com for the Canadian folks, Cisco Specialist at dnh.com for everybody in the US. Thank you so much for joining us. This is truly my favorite webinar that I do all year. Skylar, wonderful job today. Thank you for all the information you put together for this, and everybody behind the scenes that make this work. Thank you to you as well. Thank you, and we hope to see you all again soon.